Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. So welcome, Dr. Zahida Johal, founder of Zahidas and Z Smile Teeth Whitening Products.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for having me on your show. It's my pleasure.
It's very exciting. And before we go into all of your story and what you're up to, teeth whitening, what's that about?
Well, part of my job. I've been doing dentistry for the last 30 years and teeth whitening is part of what we do. Whitening people's teeth.
That's brilliant. And you have to be a qualified dentist to sell products for teeth whitening. Is that right?
That is correct. Although that's not necessarily the case out there these days. And that was the reason why I decided to develop my own products, because I just got frustrated by seeing so many products out there online that people could buy that don't really do what they claim, which I found very frustrating.
You surprised me. You surprised me that there are things out there that don't do what they say they do.
Oh, there's lots of things on the market that you can buy that don't do it at all. There are ones out there online that you can buy that actually have highly influential people claiming they do whiten their teeth. And I know full well that they don't actually. So there's a lot of false information, and that's how I feel about it.
That's brilliant. So you're out there to sort of change that space, and I think that's great that you're doing that work. And you know, I'm sure I will come your way at some point to get my teeth whitened. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about what is your why and how it all started, and where your journey's been and what you've experienced. And so, tell us a bit about what you do right now, Zahida.
I'm still working in dentistry, so I work for somebody else as a dentist, which I do 1 day a week now. But I have my own business called Zahidas. I've had the business for about 12 years now, but never really. It's always been word of mouth. But I decided a couple of years ago I wanted to grow my own business, and also said why I went into the teeth whitening products as well.
So what happened 2 years ago that sort of changed your focus from having it as a side hustle to it becoming your main business?
So what happened to lead me to be the person I am today, actually, and into the entrepreneurial side 2 years ago, was that I actually got sacked or dismissed from my dental practice job, which doesn't happen very often in the dental world. But I was told I had lost focus in my job, after 27 years of doing it. So what did that mean? I spent 2 years prior to that supporting my 16-year-old son, who had gone through a mental breakdown after being sexually abused by a teacher at his school, and then emotionally abused by staff members for the remaining 2 years that he was doing his A-levels. So after this, when we'd come through this whole process with my son, I got told I had lost focus at work and was therefore being dismissed, which I found quite shocking, considering the fact that when my son was in a suicidal state, I still went into work. I still put a smile on my face as though there was nothing going on in my personal life. And I carried on seeing my patients, treating them well. And yet I was told I had lost focus. Quite shocking, to be perfectly honest. So that was quite distressing for me, and as a result I ended up having a mental breakdown of my own, And this was the turning point on a personal and a business level for me.
So it sounds like you had some pretty dark times.
Yeah. I did. Having always worked for other people for the last sort of 26, 27 years, at that point, I decided when that happened to me that I wanted to be the master of my own destiny from then on, not rely on other people, not have to work for other people. But I realized I needed to do something for myself. And it was strange because something came up on my Facebook feed about an entrepreneurial business success summit for women. It was like a free weekend, which was organized by business entrepreneur Edward J.C. Smith, who runs the Champion Academy. Anyway, that was my calling, as I would say. I decided actually, right, okay, fine, I'm going to sign up for it and I'm going to do something for myself. And it was being at that event that inspired me to take action. Because the biggest thing I took away from that was that to be successful, you have to actually believe in yourself and have the confidence to know that you can do whatever you want to do. And that was something that I realized I lacked.
And what did success mean to you at that point in time? Was it about money?
Partly, I suppose partly because my husband does work quite long hours. And it is about helping him to reduce his hours. And also for myself as well, so that I've been a mum of 4 children, and I've done my dental job throughout having children, apart from the times when I went on maternity leave. And although people would think I was successful because I'm a professional dentist, I don't know, I just felt something was missing.
But you didn't know what that was?
No, I didn't realize until I started thinking about what I actually wanted and what I valued as success for myself, not for anybody else, because I realized everything I'd done was for other people. I mean, I ended up doing dentistry in the first place because coming from an Asian family and an Asian background, I would say, pushed into doing dentistry. I was, it wasn't even encouragement. It was, this is what you will be doing. You will be doing medicine. And in the end, I decided I wanted to do dentistry and not medicine. So it may not have necessarily been something or the job I would have chosen for myself had I been given a choice. Not that I minded, I enjoyed my job and I valued it. And having been a mum and a working mother, I realized how valuable dentistry was actually as a working mother. I could work it around having children. So it worked really well for me. But reflecting, I realized, it wasn't really what I enjoyed fully, full satisfaction.
And what would you say your sort of true passions are?
My true passions, well, I've always enjoyed looking good. I've always been, from quite a young age, I was very much into fashion, which is probably the line that I would have taken had I been given a choice of what I wanted to do. And I've always liked looking good. So for me, that's why I started the facial aesthetics business about 12, 13 years ago, because I like looking good and I like making other people look good. And obviously dentistry is like that as well. Dentistry is about making people's teeth look good. But I didn't want to just make people's teeth look good. I wanted to make them look good on the outside as well, like make the whole face look good. And now also with the styling side of things, make them look good, I treat a lot of people who are sort of similar age to me, which are, mums who have had their children lost focus and confidence in the appearance, wanting to just boost their own confidence by looking good again. And that really excites me to be able to do that and give women back their confidence. Not just women, men as well, of course. Men are more than, men do lose confidence as they age as well, as do women. So, it's not necessarily for just one sex, it's for both.
It's a massive growing market. That there's a fantastic guy who's created a whole makeup brand called War Paint for Men. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's incredible. And he's really working with a lot of more elderly people who have lost their confidence in how they look, and they're finding it really liberating using this makeup. So I get.
Yeah.
I know you're more than makeup. You're doing a lot more with your aesthetics work, but I do get that people do lack their confidence as they get older, and they don't look how they feel they used to or would like to anymore. So anybody who knows you, Zahida, they will always see you as that confident professional who is beautifully turned out. They wouldn't really believe that you had this sort of doubts or sort of lack of confidence.
No, you're right, absolutely. And when I mention it to people, they are shocked to hear that. But I have struggled throughout my life up until, a few years ago. I've always had that self-doubt and lack of confidence and in my own abilities. And that's what going to the Business Success Summit, which with Ed J.C. Smith, he does talk about your well-being as well, and he's a big advocate of your mental well-being. You have to look after that first and foremost before you do anything else, and everything else will follow. And I am now a great believer of that. I do believe that he, what he says is what is right, that you have to have self-belief, you have to believe in your own abilities, and that none of us are any different to each other. And the people who are successful are no different to the ones who aren't successful. It's just about believing in yourself. And once you have that self-belief, you can achieve anything. And that's exactly what I encourage my children as well now, And that's why I told them that you just have to believe in your own abilities. You have to believe in yourself first and foremost, and then you can achieve anything in life. I also have to pay credit to you, Amy, but also having been in my life at the time when I needed somebody inspirational. Having known you from our daughters who were at primary school together, when I went through my difficult time, you also encouraged me. You were a great inspiration to me when I needed somebody like you in my life. And you encouraged me to join your network of property ladies to meet up monthly to keep each other accountable. And I found that very useful, meeting, other women who are very like-minded, doing similar things, and just encouraging each other, and discussing your wins and, and obviously your losses as well, and challenges. But I think I've found that networking groups have been a great help. I mean, I've met lots of people through yourself in your networking group, Amy, and also through the Champion Academy that I'm part of with Ed J.C. Smith. I've made some great friends, people, doing different business things as well. But we were all very like-minded. And I think that's been fantastic. For me, that's been great. And it's actually given me other opportunities as well. I've been invited along to do other things, which has been fantastic. Things that I would never, ever have done. Like there's somebody called Ankita Saroha, who she's an Indian lady who is from India and has been a beauty queen in India. And she's now decided to organize her and is a founder of a new beauty pageant out in India called Mrs. India International Queen. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be out in India, in April, and because of coronavirus, it had to be cancelled. So unfortunately, the whole pageant that she invited me to be a judge on was cancelled and is going to be rescheduled at some point later in the year. But that would never have come about if I hadn't started in the networking. And these are the opportunities that are now coming up that I'm so grateful for. But if I hadn't to put myself out there, I wouldn't have met those people. For me, it's been absolutely fantastic. It really has.
So I think there's quite a few points that I've picked up on there. I mean, firstly, thank you for your kind words. I'm very grateful to that. But, I was just being a friend and just offering out sort of someone for you to listen, so if you needed people to listen to what you had to say, not necessarily point you in any direction particularly, just be heard. So yeah, I totally have supported you throughout your sort of growth over the last few years, but also the tough times too. And I think
absolutely, and I'm truly grateful for that. And
you're welcome.
It's when you go through difficult times, you realize who your true friends are and the people who are there for you to help you through those difficult times. And they're the people that mean a lot to you, and you realize that. So I am truly grateful to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's what friends do. So, but I think that you're sort of talking about your vulnerability and sharing that with everybody today, and making people realize that even though you have this confident exterior, that actually that nobody should feel alone, that you should reach out and ask for help, and you did, and then because of that, opportunities have come your way, and you've realized that your health is actually your true wealth, more so than anything, and treating that first has really led you into becoming much more of a relaxed and confident person internally, not from an external position.
No, absolutely. I mean, definitely, I will agree with that. Everything you say, that actually internally, I am way more confident now than I have ever been. And obviously, that persona that I had is actually true now. And I actually feel it. I feel very different in myself internally than, like I say, I have done for the last 51 years, which is, for me, is a revelation, actually. And I hope to continue like this for my remaining years on this earth.
Absolutely, and I don't know anybody who looks as stunning as you do at your age.
Thank you.
So I need to have your secrets, please. But going back to something you mentioned earlier about your children and encouraging them to do what they wanted to do, it's interesting because they've always been quite sort of focused and driven, and they had the expectations of what they thought you wanted them to be, but you hadn't really had those conversations with them directly until year 9.
That's right, yes. When he was 13, 14, he's now 21. But when he was about 13, 14, I actually said to him, he was very much into sports at the time, and we were at a parents' evening, and I said to him, you don't know what you want to do you? And his reply was, well, I do, but I don't think you and Dad would be very happy about what I want to do. So I turned around to him and I said, well, okay, let me tell you what I think you want to do then. And I said, is it something related to sports or sports science degree or something like that? And he was shocked. The look on his face was like, oh, how do you know? I said, well, I know you very well. And he goes, I didn't think you and Dad would be happy if I said I wanted to do that. And I just said to him, why? I said, you can do whatever you want to, whatever you're happy, as long as you know where that will lead to you and what you want in life. We are not going to tell you what you have to do. Just because we were kind of pushed into what we've done, both myself and my husband, because he's from an Indian background as well, we're kind of pushed into the medical kind of dental route. That doesn't mean that's what we want for our children. And in fact, it's the complete opposite for me. I would prefer my children to do what they want to do rather than us telling them what they should be doing. So he's doing a sports science degree. That's what he wants to do. And his passion is rugby. He wants to be a rugby coach. And that's exactly what he's doing now. He's pursuing that career that he's always wanted. And we absolutely encourage him as well. We really do encourage him to do that. So hopefully he'll be happy in what he does.
That's fantastic. That's a great story. And I think that just having those conversations with your kids and realizing that they have these expectations that they have and they about you and what they think you want for them, and then having that conversation with them and making and sort of helping them realize that this is their life, this isn't your life, you're not living it through them, or they don't need to meet these expectations. They need to really understand what their why is, and I think having seen you discover what your why has been over the last few years has been great from my perspective, but more so from your perspective, but also from the children, because they've got this role model who has gone beyond, gone through some really tough times, but have spent a lot of time working out what it is that you then really want to do, and that it's never too late.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the one thing I would say to people. It's never, ever too late. And if nothing else, that's what I've shown. And my children do see that, they see how, I've turned things around, and how, I am truly going out for what I want to do. And I really do encourage them. I've got a 16-year-old daughter who's always wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and she's always said to us, I don't want to go to university. And we've said to her, we've encouraged her, fully we've said to her, right, fine, if you don't want to go to university, if this is what you want to do, go ahead, go for it. But you have to put your 100% commitment into what you want to do. And that's the only thing we say to our children is, so long as we see you put 100% into what you want to do, we will fully back you all the way.
No, I think that's a great message. So what would you say now, you spent the last 2 years really working on your and focusing on your why. What is it that you're actually doing, and why are you doing it now?
What am I actually doing? I'm actually enjoying life, actually. That's what I'm actually doing. I've gone a bit crazy in this lockdown that we had with the coronavirus. And I think I've done things I probably wouldn't have done before now, actually. Maybe a few years ago, I would have been too shy to do some things. But I've become more of an extrovert, I think, as a result of finding my why. And I am just actually, I have to say, just enjoying life. That's what it's about to me now.
And I think that's really important that you're sharing that and that you are living that. It's one thing to sort of say, okay, this is my why, but are you actually living your why and what you're doing, and spending the time really focusing on helping other people, being confident in not just the aesthetics, but also in the mental health. You're doing a lot of work there as well.
Absolutely. I'm very passionate about helping with mental well-being, particularly in young people. Having been through, seeing what we went through with my son, and the lack of support he had, which actually led to his downfall, I would say, really, when he ended up suicidal, was because of the lack of support he was getting from authorities, where he should have really been supported a lot better. It really gave me a drive. And again, I'm very much an open person who will talk about problems we have openly, because I do actually feel that we should talk. We should talk about these problems, because if we talk about them, then we can help other people through difficult situations. We shouldn't feel like we're on our own, which is exactly how I felt when we were going through this period. And that's why it's made me more passionate to talk about it openly and to put systems out there to encourage people and to raise funds to help people, particularly young people, because I think there's more and more young people having mental health issues for, various reasons. It's multifactorial. There's no one reason why this is happening in society. But I'm quite passionate about putting systems in place to help. I'm also involved in a group we're just about to launch called the Evolved Generation Group. And that's about creating a community of parents, educationalists, and mental health workers to put systems in place to support young people with their mental fitness and resilience, so that going forward in time, we can put systems in place for young people to help them with their mental well-being, because I think it's really, really going to be needed. And this is to support schools as well, schools, universities, colleges. If we can get a support network around them, then we can help young people. So yes, I have done some fundraising for Young Minds as well. And as I say, I am quite passionate about mental well-being.
And do you think that you would be as passionate and have as much sort of empathy for this topic if you hadn't experienced it yourself?
Possibly not. For me, the passion has been there a lot longer than what my son went through, because my mum was schizophrenic, so I grew up from being a very young child with mental illness in the family with my mum. So obviously that left a big impact on me. And when my son went through the difficult period he went through, it really resonated, and I actually really appreciated and realized that how much support we need to put in place, because I think obviously that support network wasn't there when I was growing up. We didn't have anybody supporting us when my mum was ill as children, and I really feel that I needed it. We needed it as a family, and it wasn't there. You didn't talk about it in those days. Whereas now, that's possibly why I'm so open about it as well. Actually, I feel we should be. We should be able to talk about it, and that's why I encourage my kids to talk about it. My son has spoken about it when he came through his difficult time. He actually himself asked his school if he could talk to the other sixth formers about getting through difficult periods and how you can get through it. And I was so proud of him, because he did that off his own back, and he's not somebody who talks a lot at all. So for him to stand up in front of the whole sixth form at his school, where he'd gone through those difficult periods, to stand up and talk about it must have been huge. But, and I was so proud of him.
And what's happened as a result of the whole family talking about the mental health? What sort of outcomes have you had from others?
Well, basically, we encourage other people to talk about it. I mean, I've had other parents come to me for advice. I also mentor other young people who can't go to their parents and find it difficult to talk to other people. They know that they can talk to an adult who's been through it and might be able to encourage them. So yeah, I mean, for me, this is about giving back, and that's what I love doing. I love, possibly because of my job as well. I'm a people person who I've always been in a profession where we care for people. So that is part of my nature anyway, to look after people. And this, again, mental well-being has always been one of my passions. So I do like to, support people with respect to helping them with their mental well-being as well.
So what would your advice be to anybody who doesn't know what their why is, and how would they go about looking or finding it?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually. How would they go about looking for it? For me, it was obviously my why came about when I went through a very difficult time in my life. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean everybody's got to go through a difficult time to realize their why. Maybe if you're at a crossroads, you might want to think about your why, which way you want to go. So it's about sitting down and actually, I don't know, internalizing and visualizing. Maybe visualizing what you want for yourself rather than what everybody else expects of you. I think for me, that's what it would be.
I think that's a great tip. And I think there doesn't have to be a particular point in life where you realize that things need to change dramatically, as you say.
No.
It could be over a period of time that you've got a goal that you want to work towards, or just a sort of a pivot. It really does depend. I think that when you understand what your purpose is, and you have a plan to focus on that, it can be so powerful. And especially when that driver affects other people, because then you start impacting other people's lives. And everyone has a different why, and it can be a very personal one, it can be a very altruistic one. It's all depending on what is right for you. And I think that's the one thing that, you know, we've got lots of stories on this podcast from people from all walks of life. No one is right or wrong. That's the beauty of everybody focusing on their own why, their own raison d'etre. It's all about them and what impact they want to have on this lifetime and potentially in lifetimes to come. But being true to yourself and believing in yourself, which is the message that you started off, is so important.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And what you're saying is, you know, you have to find your own why. And like I said, you know, you don't have to come to, you know, a very low point to do that. You know, you can do it at any point. But I think that's what people should take away from this, is that you have to do it for yourself, not for anybody else. Because ultimately it is about believing in yourself. You know, and even when people say, oh, but I do believe in myself, do you truly believe in yourself and do what you actually want? Or are you doing what other people expect you to do?
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Zahida, and sharing your journey. I think that there'll be lots of people out there who will resonate with elements of what you've experienced, and the sort of initial anger and resentment of being sacked for something that you were working incredibly hard on has actually probably been the turning point. If you look back on it, I know it was really hard at the time, but do you think that was actually one of those moments that has served you best?
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what I always say. Every cloud has a silver lining, and you just have to wait sometimes. You might not see it at the time, but it's there. And that's what I also say to my kids. It is there. And you just need to just wait and be patient. It will come.
And I think that's so true. There's the great Sufi tale of good thing, bad thing, who knows? And if you apply that philosophy to any kind of event that happens at the time and not form a too strong emotion to it, then, you know, things will pan out. You know, with the coronavirus, you know, it is a difficult time, but who knows what will come of it in the long run. You know, it could be that this has been the making of so many new things for our world, and lots of good things will come out of it, but we just don't know what those are right now.
No, absolutely. But there will be lots of positives. I firmly believe that.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star iTunes review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of the inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.